Okay, while the other video is uploading, I'm gonna do another one on the Family Proclamation to the world by the LDS Church, how it's treating symptoms and not the cause. You'd think that family problems are the cause, however, no, and we'll demonstrate why. And so I'm not gonna babble on as I'm doing here. I'll just get right into it. Okay, September 23rd, 1995, President Gordon B. Hinckley, in the Relief Society session of conference, which was not a part of General Conference back then. Monson was the one who made women's session part of the actual conference. He came out with the Family Proclamation. So that's interesting background, that the Family Proclamation is going to the women of the church, not to the world, not to the priesthood, but to the women of the church. That is very key to understanding the underlying interpretation of this revelation. And besides, President Kimball already came out with a proclamation in conference when he was president. So this is nothing new. And Gordon B. Hinckley, he didn't come up with it. He had to work with the 12, because as we see here in the first paragraph, we, the first presidency and the council of the 12 apostles of the Church of Jesus, solemnly proclaim that marriage. So right away, Gordon B. Hinckley did not come up with it on his own. He worked with it with the 12 to create this document. But they haven't put it in the scriptures, so it's not official canon. But the church, however, pushed it so much on the members as if it were canon scripture. But they didn't go to its final conclusion and put it in. And that's another interesting thing that's very disturbing about the church. But anyway, marriage between a man and a woman is ordained of God, so they're in denial of their history that Brigham Young, who they claim as a legitimate president of the church, established polygamy. So marriage between a man and a woman 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 and a one Mormon woman is hard enough to get along with. Oh, yes, I did say that out loud. Oh my goodness. But this is why. Because their women are being indoctrinated, and they're using feelings rather than going to the causal evidence. All right. And a woman, a man and a woman, is ordained of God, and that a family is central to the Creator's plan for the eternal destiny of his children. Well, there it's different than the theology of other religious groups. So this is the Mormon one, and then they're pushing it on to the rest of the world. That our theology is correct and yours is wrong. Obey us or die. But yeah, homosexuals don't go to the celestial kingdom. Why? Because you cannot procreate, have children, if you're a man-man or woman-woman. It has to be man and woman. That's scientifically biological. But that's the Mormon theology, is that the celestial kingdom is for couples. Because the idea is that you go throughout the universe after you die, and you have spirit children who then go into physical bodies on the earths, on the other planets in the universe. It's not simple. And so, it's not intended to be a punishment for those who don't want to procreate after this life. But Mormons use it for that purpose. And this was long before the Family Proclamation. So you can see that Mormons then go to the extremes and say that everybody needs to pair up and everybody needs to be saved, or you're all going to burn in hell. But that's not Mormon theology. Doctrine and Covenants 76 specifically says there are 3 kingdoms of glory. Now, yes, they have varying degrees, but they're kingdoms of glory. It's not hell. And Mormons don't get that. And, okay, we're processing at 53%. So that's part of the problem in Mormonism, is that they're told something and then they add to it. They take it to the extreme. And so as a result, you have mothers who are stressed that their child wants nothing to do with the church. Oh, we're going to be an eternal family and you're going to burn in hell. Nothing, leave me alone. But, yeah, I mean, the whole concept here is that families are supposed to be together forever, and it's not really the original theology of the church. It was couples will be together forever, not families, because your parents, they're not going to hang out with you and your wife or spouse, if you're a woman instead of a man, but they're going to go on their own way. They're sick of you. And your children, they're not going to want to hang out with you. They want to have somebody of their own, and they want to go their way. And maybe they don't want to have a spouse and have children. You know, unfortunately, in our world, people who are victims of abuse by someone of the opposite sex tends to cause an emotional attachment to those of their own sex because they're not getting abused by such. And so, unfortunately, that could be a sad situation as a causal factor, not as a symptom factor. And of course, I'm aware of the movie that's out about the forced brainwashing back to normalcy of those who think that they're gay. But then you have gay people who say, oh, I was born this way. No, you weren't. You don't have your sex organs activated until puberty. It's a known fact. So any claim to being an under puberty aged person who's thinking differently, there's something else going on that's a causal factor. It is not in the DNA. But yeah, anyway, this is where Mormons don't like gays, is because gays aren't going to the celestial kingdom, therefore they think they can justify themselves in discriminating, abusing, neglecting, attacking those who are not of their mindset. But that's how it all begins, is with taking a theology and running away with it, taking it a mile. All right, so eternal destiny. But yeah, Mormons should know better. Mormons should know that it was Lucifer's plan to save and exalt everyone, and doing so by taking away their agency. That's what Mormons are doing to homosexuals or to family members who don't want anything to do with the church. You're trying to force their agency in order to force salvation and exaltation on them. That is Lucifer's plan, and Mormons are guilty of following Lucifer's plan according to Mormon theology. It's that simple. So why are you doing it, Mormons? Stop it. Okay, so carrying on. All human... I'm having to read it off of a picture that I downloaded. And let's see if I can... There we go. All human beings, male and female, are created in the image of God. Each is a beloved spirit, son, or daughter of heavenly parents. So there's the Mormon theology being perpetuated upon the rest of the world. And as such, each has a divine nature and destiny. So this is the Mormon theology of a divine spirit being placed into a mortal body, an imperfect, frail, weak, corruptible body. So that's needs to be understood by other religions as to what the Mormons are talking about here. And so they're now discussing gender. Gender is an essential characteristic of individual pre-mortal, mortal, and eternal identity and purpose. So there's confusion in the world between sexual identity and gender identity. Sexual identity has now been defined as having the sex organs of that of male or female. Gender has been twisted to be the mental process that a person believes that they are associated with, whether it's male or female, regardless of your DNA. This is incorrect. It's the wrong word to be using here, because gen comes from the sexual union of man and woman to produce offspring. That's why genealogy. It's not a family tree of your adoptive parents or foster parents or someone who you want to be in your family. And Mormons have a problem with this because Michael Jackson, for example, has been baptized in the Mormon Church when nobody's related to him. And other famous celebrities, current and in past time. So, yeah, we need to establish definitions in order to properly communicate with each other, and that's causing a problem. And then, like I said, there's issues of wanted to be able to. Okay, so I can blow it up for the top half. I can't scroll around to. All right. In the premortal realm, sons and daughters knew and worshipped God. Oh, man. Knew and worshipped God as their eternal Father and accepted His plan by which His children could obtain a physical body and gain experience and progress towards perfection and ultimately realize their divine destiny as heirs of eternal life. So, yeah, Heavenly Father's plan was that we do become like Him and have go on to a planet and have children on those other planets, populate the universe. The divine plan of happiness enables family relationships to be perpetuated beyond the grave, blah, 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 sacred ordinances and covenants available in the holy temples. That's the whole purpose for temples, is for celestial glory. Make it possible for individuals to return to the presence of God and for families to be united eternally, blah, blah, blah. The first commandment that God gave to Adam and Eve pertaining to their potential for parenthood as husbands, blah, 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 blah. What? Wait a minute. Where's the first commandment that God gave to Adam and Eve pertained? Oh, pertained. There it is. I thought it said pertaining to their, and there was no verb or object of the sentence, but anyway. Okay. But yeah, the first commandment is have sex. That's the first commandment. We declare that God's commandment for his children to multiply and fill the earth, not replenish, remains in force. We further declare that God has commanded that the sacred powers of sex, they can't say sex, they have to say procreation, are to be employed only between man and woman. Well, no, that's not God, that's just the natural order of things. If you want to attach that to God, there's other religions that do that. Mother Nature, for example. So yeah, it's a DNA thing that the way to perpetuate the species is by a man and a woman having sex. But they're trying to throw this in to say no other sex is allowed. Don't you do it. And that's sort of part of the abortion thing also that they're trying to perpetuate. So women who get raped are not allowed to have are not allowed to abort the baby, and that's very dangerous because it lets abusers go free and victimizes the woman. Lawfully wedded. See, lawfully wedded. In the temple ceremony, the law of chastity is about conforming to the laws of the land about marriage. It has nothing to do with the ritualistic temple ceremony of sealing of couples together. And that's strange. I've not comprehended why. They're conforming to the laws of the land, not to their own religious laws. That's disturbing. We declare the means by which mortal life is created to be divinely appointed. And so, yeah, a raped woman is not divinely appointed to have the baby that way, and therefore she is in sin. That's what they're saying. So you can twist it all around and say, no, you're adding words to them. But look at how you guys treat abortion in Utah. It's banned, remember? There's Roe versus Wade, but it's banned in Utah. So guess what? Elizabeth Smart, remember her, Utahns? She was impregnated by Brian David Mitchell. You don't have sex with a girl and not get her pregnant. Unless you cause damage in there. And he didn't do that. She got pregnant. But Utah law prohibited her from getting an abortion. And so all Mormons in government, in church, and in society looked the other way and allowed her to go to Wyoming to get the abortion. So much for the Family Proclamation as you interpret it, huh? There's double standards. Okay, husband and wife have a solemn responsibility to love and care for each other. Oh, I thought we were just a business relationship or a hate relationship where we do S&M on each other. What was it? What was that movie? 50 Shades. We signed a contract with Safe Word. Of course you gotta love. That's just an obvious. Children are the heritage of the Lord, blah, blah, blah. You use a quote from the scriptures finally? Oh, man. Parents have a sacred duty to rear their children in love. Obviously. I thought it was like the Simpsons. To provide, okay, wait a minute. So they're saying parents to provide for the physical and spiritual needs and to teach them. Okay, here, husband and wives, mothers and fathers will be held accountable for. Wait a minute, where's the men? Is this an alteration? Where's the fathers have the duty to the care of the Oh, there we go. So first they say parents are both responsible for the physical and spiritual needs, but now here in this next paragraph in the middle, by divine design, fathers are to preside over their families and love and righteousness, and are responsible to provide the necessities of life, even though they previously said both man and woman are to provide the physical and spiritual needs. So they're creating a contradiction within their own document. And life and protection for their families. So yeah, the man has to beat up people and cheat and lie at work to get ahead in order to protect his family. And from this sentence, fathers are to preside over their families and responsible to provide the necessities of life and protection for their families. And that's where I talk about in the other video that this has been used by single women in the church and married women in the church to condemn men who, even though they have a full-time job or are victims of abuse by the Utah government or the Utah economic system or the national and government and economic systems, that the symptom of them not being able to provide the needs and protection of the family is therefore the men's fault. They stop right there. And that's wrong. And when you're a doctor, you know that you're supposed to be treating the cause. You're not supposed to treat the symptom. If you treat the symptom, that's malpractice. Psychiatrists don't have the Hippocratic oath to do no harm. So psychiatrists, all they do is treat the symptoms, because they don't know what the cause is. They don't even bother to try to look. They diagnose by sitting down and talking with a person. In other words, they want money. Money, 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 money. And they can't get money if they tell people, it's actually your boss's fault for not paying you enough to correspond with the cost of living, or the government for passing that law last year that allows businesses to screw you over. And so, yeah, this is the same application, treating symptoms rather than curing the cause. And Mormons make this huge mistake, not just with their theology, but with the consequences of the theology. Sure, men can be held responsible in a perfect society. We don't have a perfect society. We have a corrupt society, a corrupt government, a corrupt economy. This does not apply, therefore. So for women of the church, and even leaders of the church, to condemn men for not having a good enough job, for not working enough hours, for not providing a lifestyle that the wife demands, that's wrong. That's inappropriate. And that's abuse. And so, yeah, I'm going to end it here, but it goes on to say that women belong in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant, having children after children, until they can't have children anymore. Mothers are primarily responsible for the nurture of their children. That's all they say about it. And so you got to go back to other prophets who have said barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. So yes, run away from the church. Slade was the band that I was thinking of in the last video at the end, and in the other video the other day. So yes, it's dangerous, it's deadly, it's corrosive, it's corrupt, as the effects of the damage that the Family Proclamation causes. And yes, as I mentioned in the other video, Mormons are even supporting Trump's decision to separate families at the border because they're illegal. They hadn't gone to court yet. They're illegal. How dare they try to enter into our nation? And you know, what does Trump mean when he says they need to do it legally? They went to the ports. You sent the troops to prevent them from entering at the ports. You've slowed down the process. So what do you mean by legally? You've already called them illegal. They're seeking asylum. They're escaping. We need to be rescuing them. Because the whole world is in chaos. And so, if you're going to treat the symptom as the evil that needs to be eradicated, that's not going to solve the problem, the cause. And Mormons should know better, because they are all about keeping families together. So for Mormons to demand that Trump get his way, get his wall, keep families separated. Again, Mormons, your theology says that's Lucifer's plan of salvation. Forced obedience. You know better. Cut it out. Especially to the guy who's giving me a thumbs down on every Mormon video. You know better, but you're not even listening this far into the video, let alone listening to my video at all. You just see the title and go, thumbs down. Ha ha ha, I showed him. You're a dumbass. You hide behind a thumbs down. But that's another problem that social media has created, is that people can put thumbs down, negative comments without commenting, and be anonymous, and humiliate and bully and troll other people. Again, that's the cause, is the social media platform that has the thumbs down feature on it. That's the cause of the trolling today. We need to get rid of that feature. So, I hope you guys understand. We need to identify the cause of the problem, not treat symptoms. And the Family Proclamation is being used to treat symptoms rather than establish a cause that can be cured. Because when you apply the Family Proclamation to an imperfect world, it doesn't work. It just causes further separation, more heartache, more grief. So, that's all for this.